I never thought I'd be writing a post like this, but I'm at my breaking point and need some perspective. My mother-in-law has always been overbearing, but what she did yesterday crossed every possible boundary, and now my husband thinks I'm the one being unreasonable. For context, I'm 7 months pregnant with our first child, a little girl we've been dreaming about for years. After 2 miscarriages and fertility treatments, this pregnancy is nothing short of a miracle for us. I've been meticulously planning her nursery for months, researching safe furniture, choosing the perfect color scheme, and carefully selecting each item with love and intention. The nursery was finally completed last weekend. We went with a woodland theme with soft greens and purples, natural wood furniture, and little touches that meant something special to us. I hand-painted a mural on one wall with forest animals. My late grandmother's rocking chair, refinished and reupholstered, sat in the corner next to a bookshelf filled with books from both our childhoods. Everything was perfect, and I would spend hours just sitting in that room, imagining holding our daughter there. Yesterday, I had a prenatal appointment that ran longer than expected. My husband was at work, and his mother has a spare key for emergencies. When I got home, I noticed her car in our driveway but didn't think much of it. She sometimes drops by unannounced despite my requests for a heads-up first. I called out to her when I entered, but she didn't answer. I checked the kitchen, living room, and then headed upstairs. When I opened the nursery door, I froze in complete shock. The room was entirely different. My woodland theme was gone. The walls, which had been a soft sage green, were now covered in pink wallpaper with crowns and carriages. The handcrafted wooden crib had been replaced with an elaborate white one with a canopy. My grandmother's rocking chair was nowhere to be seen. The forest mural I had spent weeks painting was covered up. All our carefully chosen books had been removed and replaced with ones I'd never seen before. My mother-in-law stood in the middle of the room, directing 2 delivery men who were assembling a massive white dresser. Shopping bags from expensive baby boutiques covered the floor. She turned to me with a triumphant smile and said, "Surprise! I fixed everything!" I must have looked as shocked as I felt because she quickly added, "I know you tried your best, dear, but this is much more appropriate for a little princess." That woodland theme was so dark and boyish, and that old rocking chair was just falling apart. I've put it in the garage for now. I couldn't speak, I felt like I couldn't breathe. I just stood there, staring at this foreign room that had replaced the space I had poured my heart into. When I finally found my voice, I asked where all our things had gone. She waved dismissively and said she'd taken care of it. Apparently that meant she had donated some items, stored others in our garage, and actually thrown some things away because they were too worn or unsuitable. Something inside me snapped. I told the delivery men they needed to leave immediately. My mother-in-law started to protest, but I cut her off. With a calm I didn't feel, I told her that she had 1 hour to get the new furniture out of my house and that she needed to leave. When she tried to explain that she was just helping and that I'd thank her later, I repeated that she needed to leave my home right now. She started crying, saying I was being hormonal and ungrateful for her generous gift. That's when I lost the last of my composure. I told her that this wasn't a gift, it was a complete violation of my boundaries and disrespect for the home I was creating for my child. I told her she had destroyed something precious to me and that I wanted her out of my house. She called my husband sobbing, saying I was having some kind of breakdown. He rushed home to find me sitting on the floor of the nursery, surrounded by pink accessories and furniture I'd never chosen, crying over a mural that no longer existed. Instead of supporting me, he said I'd overreacted, that his mother had spent thousands of dollars trying to do something nice for us and I had embarrassed and hurt her, that pregnancy was making me too emotional and I needed to apologize. I refused. I told him exactly what his mother had done, not just redecorated, but disposed of meaningful items without our permission, including irreplaceable things like my grandmother's chair and handmade gifts from friends. He still thought I should have handled it more graciously and invited his mother back to discuss it calmly. I told him his mother wasn't welcome in our home until she acknowledged what she'd done wrong and apologized sincerely. He said I was being ridiculous and couldn't ban his mother from our house. We've barely spoken since, and he slept in the guest room last night. This morning his sister called to berate me for being cruel to their mother, who was just excited about her first grandchild. Apparently the whole family now thinks I'm a hormonal, ungrateful witch who doesn't appreciate their family's generosity. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Yes, I lost my temper, but only after discovering that someone had literally erased every choice I'd made for my baby's room and disposed of meaningful items without my permission. I don't think I'm being unreasonable and being upset, but my husband's reaction has me second-guessing myself. My husband just texted me saying his mother wants to come over tonight to resolve things and that I need to apologize so we can move forward as a family. I don't want to see her, much less apologize to her, but I also don't want this rift between my husband and me to grow deeper. Am I the a-hole for kicking my mother-in-law out and refusing to let her back until she apologizes? Should I just let this go for the sake of family peace? I honestly don't know if I can look at her without crying or screaming right now, and the stress isn't good for the baby. Update. Thank you all for the overwhelming support. After reading your comments, I showed this post to my husband. I think seeing so many strangers horrified by his mother's actions finally made him realize this wasn't just me being hormonal. We had a long, difficult conversation where I made it clear that this wasn't just about furniture or decor, it was about respect, boundaries, and our role as parents. I asked him whose feelings should matter more, his mother's or the mother of his child. That seemed to finally get through to him. He called his mother while I was present and explained that what she did was completely unacceptable. He told her she would not be welcome in our home until she returned or replaced everything she had taken or discarded, and sincerely apologized to me. She cried, made excuses, and tried to guilt-trip him, but he stood firm. My grandmother's rocking chair had, fortunately, just been moved to her garage, not thrown away. The mural will need to be repainted, and we're still working on tracking down where she donated some of the other items. My husband has promised to help restore the nursery to my original vision. The most important outcome is that my husband now understands that setting boundaries with his mother isn't optional, it's essential for our marriage and for creating a healthy environment for our daughter. We've agreed to start couples counseling to work through this and develop strategies for dealing with his family going forward. As for my mother-in-law, she sent a text that started with, "I'm sorry you were upset," not exactly the sincere apology we're looking for. She's still not welcome in our home, and my husband supports this decision. His sister is still angry with me, but frankly, that's the least of my concerns right now.